The GLUU crew has recently received funding from the Canadian government and now offers their free GLUU Essential courses online. We are very pleased to welcome Linda to our conference. Good morning, Linda.
Hello, everybody. Hi, everyone. It's great to be here on this Truth and Reconciliation Day. I'm proud to say GLUU Society gratefully acknowledges that we are on the ancestral and unceded territory. We gather and work on this territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. Thank you for that. And thank you for the invitation to talk today. It's nice to see you all, sort of. You can see me and hear me, I hope. And we're going to dive in and fasten your seatbelts because this is a really quick ride. We're going to spend about 30 to 40 minutes riding through the technology that's in our life. And most importantly, we're wrapping up with how do we stay secure using it. That is the big thing we need to figure out. If I do one thing with GLUU Society in my life, that is to help everybody listening to me talk understand how to be secure online. It is paramount importance that we can do that. So let's go. Happy to answer your questions. If we don't get to them all, I'll show you my email at the end and you can email me directly. GLUU Society is a nonprofit organization. We are Canada-wide now, and we have helped. The number's gone from 40,000, a little over 60,000 seniors. And we are relaunching everything thanks to funding from the federal government. Our website, the online courses, all the content we teach, everything gets relaunched in a couple of weeks. It's a crazy time here. So watch out for that on our website, and watch out for that by email if you're on our list. But everything is in flux right now. So just giving you a heads up. We couldn't quite get it done in time for this speech, but registration begins for everything next week for those of you who are interested. Everything is free, by the way. And I love that it's free. That's a mission of GLUU, is to make sure our courses and materials are free. But what I really love is there are no ads, no pop-ups, no ads, nobody tracking your data. We ask for your first name and an email address. That's all we need to say hello to you properly in an email, and nobody's tracking your data, selling it, sharing it, nothing. So that is what I love. One of the many things I love about GLUU. All right, let's get into it. Let's talk about age. How old are you? Doesn't really matter how old we are today, because we are living a life where no matter our age, we're going to be using basically the same devices as the young kids. The reality of our use of these devices is nobody pops out of the womb knowing how to swipe a tablet or a smartphone. We all figure out how to use technology in our own way. The difference between us older adults and the young kids, I think, is fear. These kids swipe and poke and download and do things without worrying about the consequences. We get it. Their prefrontal cortexes aren't yet wired. They're good at doing things fearlessly. But we need to take a little bit of that behavior from the young kids into our lives and become a little less fearful. Tap and download and experiment with technology. That's how we are going to keep digitally young, keep our age down in our digital lives. At GLUU, we hear these comments too often. I'm too old to learn. I've heard that from somebody in their 60s. Ouch, right? I don't want to be on the internet. It's a scary place and I don't need to be there. That is not true. Yes, we need to be there. A flip phone is good enough for me. Probably could have got away with that statement 5 years ago. You can't now. A smart device or a device that's connected to the internet in a convenient way is very important for all of us, and I'll show you why in a sec. But before we look forward and look at what's happening in tech today and get into the need for digital security and how to stay secure online, let's look back. It only will take a couple of seconds. I'm not going to spend much time on this, but I like this slide because it reminds us of what we've already been through, right? We have already lived through one of the most transformative times in human history. Computers and the internet and all the technologies that spawned around that have completely transformed our lives. And here we are post-COVID, more connected, using technology than ever. And I just urge us to remember, when we look to the future and we see what's coming, you've already done it. You've already done the hard part. This is just a continuation of a wave we've already experienced. So try not to look at the future technology as something that is negative and disrupting your life and it's a bad thing. Try to see, or something that you can't get your head around. It might be hard to get your head around some of the concepts. I find it difficult to get my head around some of these concepts, but we've already done it, right? We've already lived through quite an amazing time, and we're going to continue to do that. So a very brief look at the future. 30 years from now, a lot of us in the audience, fingers crossed, I'm around in 30 years. The reason I bring up what might be happening and what will be happening in 30 years from now, the timeline might shift. It might be 40 years, maybe 50, but the point is, the technology that's being worked on today is being readied for launch in a few decades. So we are seeing prototypes, and some of this technology seep into our lives today, getting set up for the tech that is going to redefine our civilization, basically. And that's not a huge overstatement. When we look forward to technology, let's make sure we don't predict wrong, like the founder of 3Com did, the guy who invented the Ethernet, the cables that connect you to the internet. He was sure the internet was going to collapse. Okay, well, obviously not true, quite the opposite. The founder of IBM, room in the world for 5 computers. Okay, that was 1943, fair enough. But not somebody who looked really long, right? He wasn't looking very long, was he, at the tech at the time? Because it was really hard to imagine what could happen in 1943. What can happen in 1963, 73, 83, 93? One last classic is the founder of digital equipment. Why would anyone want a computer in their home? Well, it turns out he was slightly right. We don't want computers in our homes. We want them in our pockets. And that's why we have smartphones. That's what smartphones are. The smartphone in your pocket is more powerful than the computers that sent the Apollo missions to the moon. And we are going from 3.8 billion smartphones in use on the planet this minute. There's more than that now. That's a slightly old statistic, to over 5 billion by 2030. And those are supercomputers in our pockets. So let's predict accurately. And there will be flying cars. That's my prediction. It's not really, it's kind of a cheat, because the flying cars already exist. Here's a flying taxi flying over Singapore Bay last year. These tests for the flying taxis have just been completed in the United States. Vertical takeoff and landing is what we call these vehicles. They do not need human pilots. They are completely autonomous. In these tests, they do have human pilots, but we will be going to the top of the building to get our taxis sometime very soon, and flying to our next location, rather than hopping in a taxi on the ground. That's going to seem like old school pretty quickly. London, Dubai, Singapore, Sydney, the list is long of the cities starting to figure out how to do this vertical takeoff and landing technology and infrastructure in their cities. Okay, almost done with the future. 50 years from now, the list is so long. And I just throw a few things on here just to give you the words. So if you're listening to the news or you're reading something, you're going to start to see these things pop up, perhaps. Flying cars, you can see on the list. That's technology that exists today, right? Like I just showed you that video. So in 50 years, the expectation is we have a choice between a car with wheels and a flying car. That is what we do. And you don't need to have a pilot's license to fly those vehicles. The big thing I like on this slide, circled now in pink, is the zero proof knowledge. I won't get into what that is. The bottom line is that will mean we don't need passwords anymore. Hallelujah for that. Unfortunately, I'll probably be dead by the time that happens. So 50 years from now, I can't wait that long for no passwords, but I think I have a solve for you. So sadly, that's how hard it is to crack this password problem. In about 50 years, 65 or 100 is the new 65. That's how our longevity and aging is expected to change. And we are expected, here's the caveat, in the first world, if you have money, you are expected to live to 150 years. So that is a very challenging ethical concept. Lots to talk about around that, but a lot of birthday candles on that cake. That's what we're looking at 50 years from now. Let's just stop now, because that technology is at us now. That's coming into our lives now. We're starting to see this. You can kind of see now what's happening in the next 10 years. You can see, oh yeah, I see that that's a launching pad for what's coming in the next decades. The big thing we want to take away from what's happening in the next 10 years is 5G, game-changing technology. And I will simplify it by saying it's a way for devices to connect to each other using the internet. It's a cellular connection to the internet, just like your cell phone does. 5G is a cellular connection. It connects everything. Think of a noun. Any noun you think of will, within a very short number of years, be connected to the internet. And I'm talking about coats, sidewalks, cars, doors, windows, wearables. Any noun you think of, right now people are working on how to connect that to the internet. And that is why the 5G technology and the Internet of Things technologies are going to blow up over the coming years, because 5G is finally here. The infrastructure is being built. Yes, we have a rural, the inequities between urban and rural when it comes to 5G. We don't even have internet in some parts of this country. We certainly don't have fiber in a lot of it. So it is a very challenging thing to see how we're going to roll this out across the country. But it's here in Vancouver. It's going to go across the country, city by city, and it will change how we interact with our world, significantly how we interact. Some people are saying it's going to be as disruptive as the initial launch of the internet. And how it's going to disrupt us at home in the next decade. By the end of this decade, we are all expected to have at least 15 connected devices. Some of you might have these connected devices already. Kettles, light bulbs, what have we got? Voice assistants. Do you have an Alexa in your house? Are you talking to your speakers? Are you using a smart TV? A smart TV is a connected device. So all of this tech, again, starting to get here now, maybe not super popular, but if we want to age in the home we love, if we want to age with independence, technology can help us do that. And some of these devices are going to be there for you to consider to add to your life, to give you independence, keep you connected. These devices, all connected to the internet, of course. That's 5G enabled perhaps, but that is certainly doesn't need 5G, right? That's just you and your home Wi-Fi and the device you buy at a store connecting to the internet. So that is a brief look at the future. We could spend all day talking about the future, but the future is now. It only sounds like science fiction, but these are technologies that we are living with in the world today. People are working on the technologies today in tests, in final trials that we expect to see in the market within this decade. And those are launch pads for what's happening in the future. What you see with all of these launches with SpaceX and Blue Origin, all these companies, Amazon, Tesla, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Richard Branson, throwing up these rockets into space with people in them, right? To all the space tourism. That is a precursor for how we're going to use rocket power to actually travel around the globe. Like, remember the Concorde? Think of the Concorde on steroids. The Concorde zooming around the world is a Concorde-style rocket-powered device that gets you from one side of the planet to the other in a matter of hours. That is what all of those companies are working on as well. And the tests are heading into space, but we will see that on terrestrial Earth soon enough. So wow, right? I kind of wanted to just give you a taste of a future that we will be living through. But where we are right now, augmented reality is a thing today. Pokemon Go, that was a big game a few years ago. It's still a huge game. That was a game that, and as augmented reality does, is it layers a computer graphic image, a computer generated image on top of the real world. And you see this image laid on top of the real world when you look through right now the screen of a device. In this picture, somebody is holding a tablet and they're navigating through the aisles of a big warehouse. using an augmented computer graphic image to point, the arrows or the computer graphics, pointing them in the right direction, showing them on the shelves where their item is they're looking for. This is augmented reality being used today in warehouse. You can imagine how incredibly powerful that is if you've got warehouses stacked full of information, of products, and humans trying to find those products. Robots don't need augmented reality, but humans do for now. IKEA Place app. Here's a fun one. You want to buy something from IKEA? Download the free app, put the item in your home virtually using augmented reality. It's accurate to within millimeters, and you can see, does the color work? Does the size work? Does the whole room need to be redone? A whole new way to shop through augmented reality. No more paint samples. I love this one, Sherwin-Williams Color Visualizer, one of many apps you can do this with. Try the paint on your wall. Get a customized paint color from the color of the fabric in your, the color of your fabrics in your room, perhaps. Try a whole different look. Nobody has to go buy those little paint samples and then sand the brush marks off the wall after. That's augmented reality. And it's right now through our tablets and our smartphones is how we are generally viewing an augmented reality world. But it tried to come in through Google Glass. Remember that way back? The glass holes, that's what they were called, the people who wore them. That was an immediate fail by Google. People hated it. Take a look at the picture. Who would wear that? Nobody wanted it. It was expensive. It didn't work. They shelved it. It's over. Google Glass is shelved, and they will wait a long time before they come back into that market. But we have Ray-Ban Stories just launching. There's the new Google Glass, basically. This glass is not augmented reality yet, but that shows you where the tech is going. This glass can take pictures of its environment. You tap the side of the glass, much like I do with my AirPods, listen to music, take a picture. That's what these glasses can do today. Interesting that is how you can see we are coming into a glass we might wear. Very soon, that is going to be layered with an augmented reality layer. Apple getting into this market, expected in the next few years. Google will soon follow, no doubt. Interesting, though, we've got Amazon in that space. Snapchat, if you're familiar with the app the kids use generally. Snapchat, the kind of twist about Ray-Ban Stories is they partnered with Facebook on this. So that's a Facebook connection. Facebook did the tech, Ray-Ban created the glasses. I don't know how you feel about Facebook. I'm not a huge fan. I'm not at all comfortable with what these glasses can do, but this is the society we live in. We need to figure out how we are going to walk down the streets when everybody can take pictures of everything. It's crazy time, but that is another talk. We could talk all day. 3D printing. Here we go with 3D printing. I bring this one up because it's been around for a long time. It is being used actively in manufacturing right now, but a lot of us don't understand quite what it is. It's dead simple. It's just like a printer that you print your text on your paper. But instead of doing one pass with the ink like your home printer does, it just layers. It does a pass and another pass and another pass, and eventually layers in micro thin layers creates a 3D object. So you wouldn't be 3D printing an object out of ink, that wouldn't work, but you can print 3D objects out of any material. And here's an example of some masks that were created to help with COVID when the respirator masks were in short supply. This scuba manufacturer, at the touch of a button, changed the design from their 3D printers to print scuba masks and said, let's now print respirator masks. That's how 3D printing is incredibly powerful. No retooling of the machines. It turns out they didn't even need to add new ingredients into the 3D printed material, and they popped out respirator masks to help with COVID. So 3D printing set to completely disrupt our manufacturing and building sectors. And here's a 3D printed test home in Amsterdam, built out of recycled materials with a beautiful, quirky design there in less than 24 hours. So that is one of the many examples of 3D printed homes happening today. And 3D printed bridges. I throw this one on because I wanted to show you this is also structurally sound. These are bridges being created by robots in situ. So these robots are creating a bridge across the pond as they go, just 3D printing it as they go to complete the bridge. And yep, right now you can eat 3D printed sushi. I know. I'm going to skip over that slide, but 3D printed food is being used, right? An interesting test up in Northern Europe right now to help older adults who have difficulty chewing hard to chew food like steak and hard vegetables. They 3D print the food to look exactly like steak and veg and potatoes and made out of the same ingredients, but they're 3D printed and soft and easy to digest or easy to chew. So 3D printed food. There will be robots in your life. It may be a 3D printed, a 3D printer in your home. They are priced for home use if you want to get into sort of crazy DIY at home. If you want to see if robots are going to take your job, you don't need to worry about that because you're retired teachers. But if you do want to see what's happening in the job world and where robots will disrupt that, that's a great website to go to. Okay, so what did we learn from COVID? The list is long as well on that, but I think the big takeaway is we learned we can adapt to technology. We learned we can do this. And that is a big confidence builder. And it's so important when we're learning technology. It's like you're learning to speak a new language. And there's lots of areas for fear and uncertainty. And it can feel quite daunting. But I think COVID has really shown us we can do this. We got this. But I urge us to now take a pause and say, all right, I'm going to continue the momentum from what I learned in COVID. I'm not going to stop learning new things, but let's get smart about how we're going to handle our digital security. The good news is we've created a 6-step plan to help you do that. We also have our GLUU Guide to Digital Security, which was a printed piece that we put out last year. That has been updated. It's getting launched with the new website. So that will give you updated resources you can look at. And we receive funding from the United Way, from their Active Aging Grant, to turn our GLUU Guide to Digital Security into online courses. So those are launching later this fall. And that will walk you through every step of this digital security plan. If you want to wait for those courses, they are online, self-paced, they have videos, it's me on your screen, walking you through the key steps. Or you could start diving in now. Once and for all, let's just figure out our digital security so we don't have to worry about our life online. Okay, so now we're into the digital security piece. That, anybody have a clue what that is? It looks like a foreign language to me. I'll let you look at it carefully for a second. That is an unhackable password. Okay, so if we're talking about a strong password, we're getting real about what a strong password is. That is a strong password. That can't currently be hacked with the computers that exist on this planet. So that would have an infinity timeline. No hacking happening on that password. Here's a few other passwords. People get clever about their passwords. They hear misinformation. The more one myth, the more characters you have, the harder it is to hack. Yes, to a point, but there's different ways to hack a password. The A, B, C, D, E, F, G, just the characters, just lining up a whole bunch of characters is going to be hacked in seconds because the hackers have already figured out people are trying to do that trick. So they program their little hacking tools to be able to break those passwords easily. The one there in pink is this trick people have of taking a sentence and the first word of every sentence. So I'm reading off the characters in pink. That was my last password that I forgot. That's what that is there. Random letters put together, harder to hack, but not impossible, no question about it. Pretty darn hard to remember, right? I think that's not a great system because it's kind of hard to remember. You could probably remember one of those phrases, maybe 5. Okay, not enough because we need a unique password on every one of our online accounts. I'll get to that in a second. The next password down on that screen, people say, well, change out a letter for a special character like a $sign or an @ And, in our human way, we take the S and we turn it into a $sign because they look sort of similar. The A is an @ symbol. The O is a 0. Every hacker knows those tricks and more, and that will be hacked very quickly. So what we're not factoring in when we give people the advice to do these tricks is the tools that hackers are building to read how we are creating passwords. And they build tools to hack those and they sell them on the dark web. So it's important to know that those passwords won't work. They are all hackable. So we need a different system because you're not going to remember that long, strong one. I'm not going to spend the time trying to figure it out. The good news, though, when we talk about our passwords, and this is something we can all really hold on to. Cyber criminals are not trying to target you personally. They haven't decided, hey, let's find Linda and see if we can guess her passwords on every one of her online accounts. Or let's just try to get into her bank account or whatever. They're not generally doing that because they don't have to. They don't have to, because the bad news is all they have to do is go to the dark web and buy that information. So they don't need to spend hundreds of hours trying to guess my password on a platform. They just go to the dark web and buy it. The dark web is that part of the web that is not visible by traditional search engines. It's hard to get to. You can't just get there by using a typical browser. It is a whole other conversation, but the dark web is lots of good happens in the dark web, but a lot of bad happens in the dark web. And that is where this information is bought and sold anonymously, away from the prying eyes of the authorities and governments around the world. So your data is being sold on the dark web, and that's what it's worth. Those are Canadian dollar statistics from last year. It's painful to look at those numbers. I'm going to pause on this slide for a second to give you a bit of a jolt, perhaps, if you're not familiar with these numbers. That credit card's an expensive item down there at $10 to $25 for a credit card number. That, by the way, includes the CCV number on the back of the credit card, completely usable credit card. Those numbers guarantee on the dark web, if I were to buy that, that is a credit card that has a limit available on it and is not going to expire soon. So these people are incredibly businesslike about how they take the data they're stealing from databases and repackaging it and selling it. And that is the price we get on the dark web, which is why they don't need to try to figure out my passwords. They don't care right now what my passwords are, because for $1 or $2, they can get my password that has been stolen from an online data breach. Let's use the 530 million records stolen from Facebook earlier this year, packaged and sold on the dark web. They can get my they got my Facebook password from that, and my email address and any other information I gave Facebook. They then take that email address and password combination and they go try it on my other accounts, guessing where my other accounts might lie. Pretty easy thing to do as a Canadian. We don't have that many banks in this country. So that's pretty quick to kind of quickly go through all the banks, see if I have an account there. Heading into any other accounts I might have, let's say Amazon is an example, and let's see if Linda's using the same email address and password on her Amazon account as the one she used over at Facebook. And if that is true, they're in my Amazon account or my LinkedIn account or whatever. So that is why every one of your online accounts has to have a unique password. So when they steal the data, they will steal the data, and they buy it and they look at it and they try it, that password doesn't get them in, because I'm not sharing my passwords across any of my accounts. So what does that mean? It's a good question. So where does that leave us? If we need, I'm going to let the slides talk, actually. It means we need, had a little brain blip there. We need a digital security plan. And I really think we also need to commit to following it. So if now is not the right time for you to dive into creating a digital security plan, maybe wait for our courses later in October. Maybe just wait till you're ready, but get ready, be smart, and understand it's going to change your workflow just a little bit. It actually simplifies your workflow in the long run by a long chalk. But what we want you to do is understand that in the beginning, there might be a few speed bumps to get over. There might be a little bit of frustration, but you can do it. It's not that complicated. And these companies who are creating these reputable password managers, because that's what we're going to do, we are going to get you a password manager. And I'll show you on the next slide which ones to get. I jumped ahead of myself here. So if you're ready for the digital security plan, here's what it is. 6 steps to making sure you are not the low-hanging fruit for these hackers. That's our goal in this time together, is to make sure that you're just not the low-hanging fruit. Let's make it harder to get into your world. We will let the hackers go after the people who have the one password, their birth date and dog's name or something on all of their accounts. Let's just not be that person. So step 1 is to head over to this website. If you're already using a password manager, I still have some tips for you. But if you're not, head over to this website, haveibeenpwned.com. You can see it printed also at the bottom of the slide. That is a trusted website. Troy Hunt is the person who has put that together. It's an amazing thing he's done. He has brought together the security industry on this planet and the tech companies. And he has said, in ways that he doesn't even see your password if you use this site. He does not keep your email address. He is just showing you step 1. Go to that site, enter your email address. Has that email address been part of a data breach? That's what the information you'll find out in step 1. And you'll get a red box appear on the screen if it has. This is a free to use website. It's a safe website to use. It is now world renowned. We've been talking about Troy Hunt's work at GLUU here for years and years. But do that with all of your email addresses if you have more than one, and see if they've been part of a breach. And you'll see it right on the screen. On that screen, you'll notice a donate button. You don't have to donate to Troy Hunt unless you want to. It's a free site to use. So use that as a nudge. If your email address has been seen as part of a breach, you need to get another email address. There's no question about that. I know. I got it. Nightmare. Some of us, we see people all the time who've had, hand up if you had the same email address since you've been on the internet. Is it your first name? Right? Probably first name, last name. You're probably pretty pleased to get your name, right? lindafawcus@gmail.com. But we don't want you to do that. We want you to be smarter about your email addresses, because as you can see, when your email address is now being bought and sold on the dark web, we don't want your email address to in any way personally identify you. If that information is seen by cyber criminals, it needs to be completely not identifiable to you. So funnycats27 is a good email address to have. It's a bit silly. I wouldn't use that in my work, but you get the idea. That doesn't connect to me at all since I don't even have cats. So step 1, see if your email address has been seen as part of a data breach. Check all of your email addresses. If you get the green box and you have not been part of a breach, don't be too cocky. It just means it's a matter of time. It could be that you are not part of a breach that is known to the website yet. It could be it's a brand new email address and it's clean. Awesome. That's great to know. But what I would love it is if you would come back to the site regularly, just as a habit, and check it out and see how clean your address is, because this site is updated constantly. Okay, so step 2, you guessed it, you're going to go back over to the same website and head to the page where it says passwords. And this is where you can see if your passwords have been part of a breach. This is a safe thing to do. This password is not stored on this site. The owners of the site, Troy Hunt, can't see it. It's all encrypted. You'll notice that when you type in your password, it is hashed. The little dots appear on the screen. So it's encrypted. Nobody can see it. So that is a way to see if your passwords that you're using have been seen as part of a breach. If they have, you must right then change the password where that password is being used. Change the password on any account where that password is being used, especially accounts that have your personally identifiable information, credit cards, addresses, etc. So that's step 1 and 2. That'll give you a nudge. Don't do that unless you're ready. Keep your head in the sand for a little bit longer. Unless you're ready to move on with the plan of the digital security plan, I'm not sure it's really worth your emotional effort to go do step 1 and 2 and then just try to forget that your information's been part of a breach. But what we can all do, if you don't want to do step 1 and 2, is everybody get those operating systems updated on every device you own. Don't wait. Yes, you can wait a few weeks. It's not the end of the world. But the reality of your operating systems is that they get updated. The reason you get updates is because the hardware manufacturer, the company that's creating the operating system update, has put in security features. They have filled holes that the cyber criminals have found in their operating system, perhaps. They are making it harder for cyber criminals to break into the operating systems. And so when you update your operating system, you're getting a security upgrade, generally speaking. So go there and update your devices. Some of the biggest viruses and worms have spread around this planet through old Microsoft operating systems, like a decade old, running on old computers. That is a very wide open hole for cyber criminals to walk through. So update your operating systems on all of your devices. And don't forget about your router modem, the thing that connects your home to the internet, if you have that. And consider calling your internet service provider and asking them, is my modem router the latest hardware? Can I have a new one? Am I on the latest software? Can you update it for me? But make sure that connection to the internet has the most secure software. I have a router modem, obviously connecting our Wi-Fi and internet in this house. And I checked with, I'm on TELUS, and I got a new one 2 years ago. And he's saying, oh, well, that's old hardware now. It's like, how would I know that? How would I know that? By calling. They're not going to proactively reach out to you. So get smart about updating all your operating systems. Be very, very diligent on that. Oops, sorry, wrong computer. Okay, so what we've got now is step 4. Get a password manager app, people. Don't stall on this. Make it happen. They can be free. You need some help managing your passwords, and a password manager app is going to do that. So there's some suggestions for you for password manager apps. Another thing you're going to do, if your email, step 5, if your emails have been seen as part of a data breach, have a moment, take a breath, figure out your plan. Our courses will help you figure out the plan, but how are you going to go from that email address that's been seen and migrate it to a new one? That's a big deal. You're going to need more than one email address too if you want to get really secure about it. There's some options. Step 1 to 4 there would each be unique email addresses, so that my email address I use on those accounts that have my personally identifiable information, that email address is saved only for those online accounts. I don't share that with friends and family. I don't share it when I'm at a store and I want a discount and they ask for an email. I create a throwaway email address for those discount moments that I give to the store. I never look at it unless I'm looking for a coupon. When it gets spammy, I delete it and get another one. This way, when these email addresses are seen by hackers, you can simply get rid of the email address and put a new one in its place. So get a plan for that. And then finally, step 6, have a plan with your friends and family. How are we going to share links? How are we going to share attachments? Oh, someone's waving there. How are we going to share links and attachments? I'm finished in 2 minutes if anyone's asking for my time count there, but sharing links, attachments, jokes, all that stuff with your friends is great. It's fun. It's dangerous. It's just really dangerous because we don't know if you're not 200% sure that that link came from your sister. Hi, Sue. Sister Sue just retired, BC retired teacher. It's her first fall in how many years? Not at school. Congratulations, Sue. Anyway, back on track. If you're not sure totally where those emails came from, don't click on the link. Do not click on the link, right? So have a plan with your friends and family for sharing. We really want you to be able to share, but do so safely. So I don't know if it's a code word you're going to add to your emails. If you shoot them a text before, hey, I just emailed you this really great thing, do something to help your friends and family understand that that was you sending that thing, that attachment, that link, or that joke. And then it's safe to click on it. So that is really important, and it is going to take a conversation with your people. And since the average person probably now, and if not, probably you, when you have all these connected devices and all this stuff that's going to start coming into your world and all the apps that we're going to want to use, you might have between 30, 50, 100, 300 online accounts. Each of those is going to need a unique password. Yeah. And there's a sample of 5 strong passwords. I would rather memorize Paradise Lost than try to remember those. I'm not going to do either, since I know I need it on every single one of my accounts. And I need to be able to change those passwords when they need to be changed effortlessly, painlessly. When I see that my password's been part of a breach, or I hear about a breach on an account that I had, I need to head over to my password manager and change that password immediately. That's got to be really fast and painless. And password managers make that fast and painless. And that is how we stop worrying about our digital security, our online security. It comes really to the gateway, and that is the password manager. And yes, you can use one for free. You don't need to pay. If you do pay, it's roughly $3, $4, $5 a month. You need to do some work on deleting, just as a recap, deleting any email addresses that have been seen by cyber criminals and get free, fresh, clean ones. And that's the website you can use. Again, repeat it again for you. Same one as I put up on the last slide. And that whole process is how you are not the low-hanging fruit. I said it before, but I'll say it again. It doesn't take much to get you off the ground, to get you out of the sights of the cyber criminals. It really comes down to that 6-step plan and continued diligence on your part to monitor the accounts that have been part of a breach. A password manager will do that for you too. Most all password managers that I've used will let you know, hey, by the way, this username, this email or password has been seen in a breach. Change it. So your password manager can warn you that that has happened, and that means you don't have to go over to a website like Have I Been Pwned to know if your data has been compromised. When you bring the password manager into your life, try not to get too stressed about it. We are all noobs today. A noob is someone who's new at something. The technology is moving into our lives so fast. We are all noobs today. There's apps, there's devices, there's concepts that are all coming at us. And that's just the way we live today. So embrace the education piece. That should be pretty easy for you. Embrace the education piece. Try not to feel like you are too old or you can't figure it out. You can figure it out. You absolutely can figure out how to use a password manager and secure your digital life. I have all the confidence in the world that you can do that. And if you are interested in our online classes or getting in touch, I will leave this slide up on the screen. Registration opens next week. New classes start rolling out on October 18th. And I am happy to talk to you about any questions you have. So there's my personal email and there's our website. But don't bother heading to the website till the end of next week, because it's all getting changed today, tomorrow. Crazy time at GLUU. So I'm going to stop there and see if we have any questions. That generally, after I bombard you this quickly with so much information, it takes people a while to take a breath and come up with a few questions. But I have some confidence you'll have a few good questions for me. So I will wait until somebody comes on my screen. I can keep talking. Oh, there we go. Hello,
Here
Carolyn.
we are. Hi, Linda. Well, thank
Hi.
you so much. That was just a wonderful talk. And you've given me a lot to think about as well as everyone else. My word. We do have a few questions that have come in, actually. I'm not sure we'll be able to do all of them, but we'll send them to you so that you can. One of the questions that has come in actually involves the physical use of a computer device. The question is asked, what about seniors who are a little bit shaky with essential tremor? It makes typing on a screen difficult, especially on an iPhone where the screen is small. Do you have any suggestions for someone who's dealing with that particular issue?
Yes, absolutely. And touch screens can be very difficult, even typing, but tapping apps and things. So styluses can be very helpful. And that is a device, a touch screen device that you buy. They can be, I buy them in packs of 5 for $10 or something from the dollar store or Costco or whatever. So a stylus can help with that. There are companies working on creating styluses that remove the tremor from your hand. So the stylus itself absorbs that energy and keeps the stylus itself firm, but that is not quite on the market yet. Also consider getting a wireless keyboard. Here's one of my keyboards here. And this connects wirelessly through Bluetooth to any smartphone or tablet. So it's not special technology. You just need to buy a wireless keyboard and connect it to your tablet. And then you could use your keyboard to enter your information on your iPhone or your smartphone screen or your tablet screen. Some cases for tablets come built in with the keyboard. I personally like the separate keyboard because I like to have it close to me. It's more comfortable. Have my iPhone up on a stand like this. So there's my iPhone on a stand, and then I can have the keyboard a little bit farther away from me. So it's more ergonomically comfortable. So consider that option. Do try a stylus. And then I would urge you, if it's an Apple or a Samsung device, to reach out to Apple and Samsung and ask them about the accessibility settings on your mobile device, because there are settings you can tweak that will not react so quickly to the tremor in your hand, so you might in your fingers, so you might be able to have a better success at tapping on the screen. Those are within the accessibility settings of your device, and I'd urge you to just get help from your manufacturer. Their support team will walk you through how to tweak those settings, and hopefully that will help.
Oh, great. Well, thank you. That was really very helpful. Thanks. I have another question that came in as well. Tomorrow is the United Nations International Day for Older Persons. And coincidentally, the theme for 2021 is digital equity for all ages. And the question has come in, which I think ties in with that. Seniors are spending money acquiring devices.
Mm-hmm.
From the experience that you have with seniors, are we spending more than we need to spend to get a device that will enable us to have some of that digital equity?
That's this is an incredibly important conversation. We've been working with Help Age Canada, a international charity based here in Ottawa. They are working to bring thousands and thousands of tablets to low-income seniors across the country. We're their learning partner in that initiative. United Way doing the same thing. We want seniors in this country to be connected to the internet. The internet costs a fortune in this country. It's ridiculous. A lot of our seniors can't afford to have the internet at home. Wi-Fi is out of the question. So we have to consider it from the connection standpoint. What are we paying for that connection to the internet? And I urge you to reach out to your internet service provider and find out if you're on the most affordable plan they have. They do have plans TELUS has an internet plan for seniors that is more affordably priced. So find out if you're on the right internet plan. I would urge you to start there. The next step is, you don't need all these gizmos. Absolutely not. They're incredibly expensive. But what you do need is, I believe, you could maybe put your computer to the side. If you have a computer you're using and it can be updated on the newer operating system and you're feeling confident using it, stay there. If you're wondering to replace an old computer, where do you go next? I am of the firm opinion that a tablet is a great next step from a computer. It's a more cost-effective purchase. It will last a long time. It most importantly gets you into the world of the apps, and apps are running the world now. Right now, you can't do that on a computer. So tablets get you into that world. They also give you the mobility, the freedom to use your tablet on the bus, on the beach, if you want to head to the beach, on your couch, lying in bed. They're just easier to manage, and they are as powerful as computers now. It's amazing what tablets can do. If you then need to have a smartphone, because on a tablet, you can use the tablet to do video calls, you can make audio calls, you don't need a cellular connection, that can all be done over Wi-Fi. On a tablet, since you can do everything, you might not need a smartphone. But if you need a smartphone, some people are getting a really inexpensive flip phone just to have on them in case of an emergency, right? That's a great option. It's easy to dial 911 from a flip phone. If you want to get into a smartphone and a tablet, that's a nice combination too. Of course, that's a luxury to have both. And I would say we could stop there, right? There's a lot we can do with that. We don't need to have the wearables and the AirPods and all those 15 connected devices. And maybe once you master those and decide if that technology serves your purposes, start adding gently and slowly and judiciously new devices into your life. But you don't need to spend a lot of money on those new pieces. The light bulbs don't cost much, right, et cetera. So stick with the mobile tech, get good at that, get comfortable with that, and then decide what you really need.
Oh, that's a great answer. Thank you. That's a lot to process too.
I know.
I think we have time for one final question. One of our members is asking if the password generation on Apple computers is adequate protection.
Yes, I use it. I personally use, that's called Keychain, Apple's iCloud Keychain. I'm an Apple person. This type of technology exists in the PC world and in the Samsung mobile device world. But Apple iCloud Keychain is incredibly secure. It's awesomely secure. It's fantastic with Apple devices. I also have 1Password, password manager app, but I mostly use Keychain because I'm all Apple. It only works though on the Safari browser. So if you are using the Chrome browser by Google, your Keychain won't work over there at this time. So if you are limiting yourself like I am mostly to the Apple world, Keychain's great. It's free. It's built into your operating system. Apple updates it constantly. It's very secure. Get on there. That's part of our digital security course, is showing you how to do it. If you want, though, to cross devices, you want to be able to use your, let's say, your iPhone with your PC computer, or you really love the Google Chrome browser or the Firefox browser, you're going to need a different password manager because Keychain won't cross those devices for you. That's just isolated to the Apple world. But it's a great option to have. And as you see with me, I'm using 2 different password managers. Keychain 70% of the time and 1Password the rest of the time.
Great. Well, thank you so much for that. Well, I can say for myself that you're going to see my name on October 18th. You're going to be signing me up.
Sign up. It's free. They're great classes. And hopefully with your feedback, everybody, we will make them even better. This is a team effort here. We're just going to put the content out there and look for your feedback to make it even better. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you. And just thank you so much for having time to spend with us today. And we'll
happy to
see
do
you.
it anytime. See you again, everyone.
Great.
Stay well. Bye, Sue. Bye, Sue. Sister Sue.
Bye,
She's going to kill me.
Bye.
Yeah.